Now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Study Period 1 live tutorial session. Just in case you're not aware, my name's Helen McMahon and I am the trainer and assessor for Study Period 1 and part of Study Period 2, and I do various other parts for open colleges as well. We currently have 5 attendees. I have 11 registered, so we might have some people join us a little bit later on. You'll notice that you will be muted, and please don't take offense to that. It just actually reduces the amount of feedback that we get during these webinars. Now I'm going to show my face. Just bear with me a second, everybody, and I can't see audience. Webcam, that's what I want. Okay, I'm just turning my webcam on. I don't know if you want to see my face, but I'm going to subject you to it anyway. So there you can see me. Hi, everybody. So please don't be concerned if you can't say anything at the moment. I'll just go through some housekeeping tidbits in a moment and just guide you through this webinar, because some of you, it might be the first time you have participated in a live webinar. So like I said, I'm Helen, and I'm the trainer for this evening, and also for Study Period 1 and Study Period 2. These Study Period 1 live tutorials, these are your tutorials. They're not mine, they're not open colleges, and what I mean by that is that we want these to answer any of your questions and to help you guide through the areas that you want guidance in. So that's why I put the little poll up earlier on. That's been running for the past 5-10 minutes, and looking at the poll results sounds very exciting, doesn't it? But in third place we have 0% for other. In second place we have 33% for people would like help on course content, and we have a grand first place of 67% on the assessment. So we will be covering both the course content and the assessment itself. So just how you navigate around and how you use webinar. All right, so what you will see a questions, so a panel, and it should typically be on your left hand side, but it may be on your right, depends on the layout of your computer. You have a questions section, so click on question, type in your questions if you want as we go along, and I can actually see those questions pop up. I may not respond to it immediately, but I can see it up here. So that's absolutely fine. Pop your questions up there, and then I will answer those verbally as we go along. You've also got an option to raise your hand, and it doesn't necessarily mean like I am right now physically, but there's a little hand that will come up, and that just alerts me that you've got something to say or something you'd like me to go over. So the way that I run these sessions is that I sort of allow you shortly to just kick off with whatever questions you have and just let the session run in the direction that you wish. And sometimes I will unmute you, because I don't know about you, but sometimes I find it a lot easier to understand the verbal when a question is asked verbally as opposed to written. So sometimes I'll unmute you and say, please explain that a little bit more. Sometimes I'll be able to answer it verbally myself. This session is being recorded, so if I do everything correctly in terms of technology, then this session will actually be up and running on our open space website, and I can share my screen and show you how to access that. So if there's something you just didn't quite capture or couldn't quite remember, don't worry, it'll all be up there, and all our previous sessions are up there as well. So I believe that's all. Like I said, this is your session. Welcome to my home office. So whenever you get feedback from me, you can now visualize me sitting here in exactly this spot for most of the day, marking your assessments and answering your messages. So well, I know there's 33% course content, so I'm kind of leaning towards starting with that first and then go to the assessment questions, because the assessment tends to obviously is quite a big bulky part of it, and I can show you some what I call Helen's handy hints on the assessment and where the common areas are that I feed back on to avoid you having to redo work, etc. So I'm happy to share my screen and show that all for you. So who's going to start the ball rolling and would like to ask a question maybe about the course content? So if you want to type your question, or if you don't want to type it, because if your typing is anything like mine, I'm really slow and terrible, even though I type all day. If you want to raise your hand and ask the question verbally, then please do that and I'll unmute you. So over to you, ladies and gentlemen. What would you like to know about the course content? So just raise your hand if you want. She says waiting for that little signal to come up. Can't see any hands coming up. So who ticked the course content one? Do you have a specific question? Okay. Okay. Okay, we've got a question from Marsh. Hi, Marsh. I'm just going to read this out loud. Hi, Helen. I'm very new at this. Have not gotten started with study period 1. No worries. That's probably a majority of people who come to these tutorials. Not sure what to ask as yet. Was really hoping to listen in at this stage. Oh, that's a really good point, Marsh. And by the way, welcome to study period 1. So thank you very much for that question, Marsh. Do you know what? I think that's a really fine question, and it leads me into really setting the scene for you all. So there'll be a number of you all at different stages of study period 1. So you've got Marsh, for example, who's completely new, kind of don't know where to start. Thank you, Kate. And Kate said, I'm having trouble making a start on the assessment. Well, thank you, Kate, because I feel very confident by the end of this evening, you'll be raring to go and go, right, I know exactly what's needed now. So that's all fantastic. So yeah, it's a funny one. Let me set the scene for you. That's probably the best way forward. First of all, I don't know if this is good news or bad news for you, but study period 1 is probably the hardest one. And you might think, that's great, it's our first study period and you throw us in the deep end. And that truly is not our intention. Study period 1 is tricky for a number of reasons. Okay, first of all, you will all be coming from your own industry, whether it be retail, design, what. Mining, finance. You're all coming in from different industries, and you're coming in to learn our industry, training and assessment. So my point is that when you come to do your Cert 4 in training and assessment, whether it be with us or any other RTO, you're actually learning a new industry. And with that comes a whole new language, a whole different way of thinking, a whole new range of concepts. That's like me walking into your industry and trying to understand what you do. And as good as I am, I'm not that good. So that's the number one hurdle, I guess, that anybody has when they're stepping into Cert 4 in training and assessment. So that's the first reason why it can be quite tricky. Secondly, the reason it is tricky is because for not all students with us, but with a large percentage of our students, they're new to online learning. So for those students, they're coming across a new way of learning. They may have been used to sitting in a classroom before, seeing the trainer and having that interaction. Maybe it's been 15 years before we've actually even tackled any learning or education, and that can be quite daunting. So, and it may be you've done online learning before, but you're not really familiar with our platform and you're kind of getting used to that. So study period 1 brings all of these things on the plate, and that's even before you started trying to read and digest the content. So we want to reach out to you all and say, it's okay if you feel you don't know where to start or it's getting all a little bit too deep, that's okay. And that's why we run these sessions, and that's why you can message myself, Michelle, and now Mohammed, who has just recently joined us, and you can ask us those specific questions. So, and I personally check my messages, if not every day, then every other day. So I always suggest to all of my students, when you do send us a message, a specific question, that's what we ask for, specific questions, because it helps us to help you. Maybe go and try and work on something else whilst you're waiting for that response, because we're not online 24/7, but we are online a lot. So we may not just be online at the moment that you are. So we don't want you feeling frustrated. Okay, well, not for too long anyway. So that's the trickiest part, I guess. And to give you a bit of background, I have been training this for over 15 years in its different formats. And it doesn't matter whether you do it online or face-to-face, it's a beast upon itself, this qualification, in that everybody sits there scratching their head in this first study period. But I can promise you that all of the learners I've worked with before, by the time they've started to progress through their journey of Cert 4 in training assessment, the light bulbs start to come on, and it's like, oh, that's why Helen was droning on about that earlier on. So you will get there. So hopefully tonight we will give you that springboard to have that more confidence and direction. So what's this study period all about? Well, there's actually 2 units that you're covering in this. You're trying to cover using training packages to meet clients' needs, and you're also trying to develop a learning program. So you've actually got 2 subjects within one study period. So what we've done, we've said, okay, we want you to go and find a client, or you may just have one on your doorstep. Now, a client can come in so many different shapes and formats. It could be a paying client. You could be working for an RTO, a registered training organisation, and you come to the RTO, the client comes, to you as an RTO and go, I need some staff training, and I want it to lead to a nationally recognised qualification. Or that client might be, you work within a training department within an organisation, and the client may be one of the other department managers, and you go, you know what, T&D department, my team really needs some help, and I want them to have a learning program to follow, so they know they're going to lead to something. Now, learning programs as a whole don't always have to be linked to national units of competencies. So after you've done the assessment, you don't always have to follow that. However, because we are gathering evidence that you can use training packages within the vocational educational training sector, we kind of amalgamated all the tasks together, okay? So you talk to this client essentially. So like I say, it could be an external client, could be an internal client. It's just somebody who has somebody that needs some training, and you do a training needs analysis. Now that might sound flash, you go, oh my gosh, I don't know how to do a TNA, training needs analysis. Well, purely that is talking to them and going, what are the skill gaps? What do you need training on? Where do you want this person or these person to be in so many years' time? Okay, so you are finding out what their needs are. And I've always explained it. It's a bit like, I don't know if any of you are from sales background. I know I originally was in sales, but I used to sell washing machines. I'm going back some years ago, but I used to sell washing machines and dishwashers and all of that. And a customer would walk in, and I would ask them lots of questions to find out what their needs were. And I would recommend a washing machine or dishwasher, whatever it might be, to them. This is no different. Absolutely no different. It's not washing machines. It's a qualification or some training. So that's essentially what you're doing. And then what we want you to do, and this assessment and this training will take you through, is how you use the training packages and the qualifications, all of that, to put together a program that helps your client meet their learners' training needs, and as a result, they walk away with a nationally recognised qualification or unit of competency, whatever it might be. Okay? And that's what this is about. You're not at this stage. I don't want anybody to be thinking about, I've got to train this subject. So if you're choosing to use the case studies, which are dental and I can't remember the name, but yeah, you think, I'm not even in the dental industry. Don't worry, okay? I don't want you to think that far ahead. Albeit you can do that too, but if you can't, don't fret about it, okay? We just want you to be able to work around what training package is all about and what training.gov.au is about, okay? So that's the setting of the scene. Now, one thing I'd like to try from a course content point of view, I'm going to try and share my screen, and I say try because even though I'm an online trainer, sometimes technology is not always in my favour. And I would like to share with you a little diagram that I've put together before to try and explain visually what the difference is between a training package, a qualification and a unit of competency. So bear with me a second. I want to share, okay. So I'm going to share my screen. If you can't see what I'm talking about, can you please just do the raise your hand in there and or put a comment in the question box. That's absolutely fine. So right now, can you see a diagram with lots of boxes? Or if somebody could just write a comment as to what they can see, because I'm not quite sure which screen I'm showing you. Okay, I'm just going to unmute. No, can see GoToWebinar. Okay, I can see the managing pods. Okay, you can say, okay, thank you. Oh, that's obviously screen 2. Let me know. Is that, I can see your browser. Thank you, Kate, Stephanie and Marsh. Can you now see this little diagram that I've got with lots of boxes? Got it, yes, excellent. Thank you, guys. Thank you, I love this line of communication. Okay, so this is still on the course content and setting the scene for you, and hopefully this will help. So at the top here, we've got a training package. Okay, and I've written training package, and I've got training packages contain nationally recognised qualifications and units of competency. So it's really important at this particular stage, if you've been using the term training package within your organisation in any other shape or form, so for example, some people use the term training package for the material that's used on a training course. So you might go on a training course, they give you this big, beautiful manual, and it's got all the information, the content in there. If you call that a training package, we need you to change the way you're thinking with your language. And I know sometimes that is extremely hard. So a training package in the vet sector, all it is a set of standards. That's exactly it. Imagine curriculum. You go into schools, I mean, I don't know the school curriculum particularly well, but I know that within a school, within each year group, they have a set of standards they have to teach the children to meet. That's all a training package is. It tells you what those standards are, okay, but within our sector. So for example, I've got there the SIR 07, which is actually out of date, but anyway, not the point. So in there, you've got the code SIR 07. So within a training package itself, you have a number of qualifications, okay? And as I put there, hopefully you can see this big enough. If you need me to make it bigger, please let me know, and I'll see what I can do. So a qualification, it says there are a number of qualifications within a training package. Really important, ladies and gentlemen. The BSB training package, for example, which is the business services training packages, has over 50 qualifications. It is huge, okay? But the TAE training package is a little thing. It's got a handful of qualifications. Depends on the industry you're in. And it's got that it has a different number of qualifications across the training package, could be 4 or 54, which is what I was just saying. It also has a variety of AQF levels across the qualification. And AQF level, Australian Qualification Framework, is a framework that's across the whole of the education system within Australia, not just with us, within the whole, like I say, Australian qualification. So that could be within schools, within higher education. Within the vet sector, we actually have qualifications from AQF level 1 through to 8. And that's when you see things like Certificate 1, Certificate 2. So Certificate 1 is AQF Level 1, Certificate 2 is AQF Level 2, and so on and so forth. AQF Level 5 is called Diploma, and it moves up like that. So you could have in a training package a couple of Cert 1s, 3 Cert 2s, 4 Cert 4s, and so on and so forth. It depends on the training package. And it's got here, which is really important, a qualification is made up of a number of units of competency, and they are typically known as core and electives. So it may say to get your Certificate 2 in retail, for argument's sake, you need, and I don't know if this is fact, you need 5 core units and 4 electives. So core units are mandatory. You have to do all of the units outlined in that training package for that qualification. Electives, it might say you've got 3 or 4 electives, and it will tell you where you can choose them from. So they're the ones that you can actually choose. And it will give you direction. And what you will find is in that training package, you will see packaging rules. The packaging rules are the ones that tell you how to make up the core and electives. So far we've got a training package. Within the training package there are a number of qualifications at varying levels. Those qualifications are made up of units of competencies, and the packaging rules tell you how to package those units together. I've got a little notice, skill sets are also, outline, available, that should say, my apologies. So you may find that, yes, you can get a whole qualification, but maybe they don't need the whole qualification. Maybe your client only needs a skill set, which is a small number of units. So for example, in the TAE training package, some people who go ahead and do this TAE, they don't need the whole lot. They just need to be able to assess within their organisation. So there's an assessor skill set. And what they've done is they picked the assessing units from the qualification and grouped them together. And that's called the skill set. So from that qualification, like I said, number of units, and a unit of competency, okay, has a format. And that format consists of a number of components. You notice I've got the word components there, and you'll see that term come up in your assessment. There are a number of components, and the typical ones are elements, performance criteria, required skills and knowledge. And there are other ones too. So the manual, the student workbook, will talk you through that. But there's also plenty of websites. The ASCA website's really handy to explain all of those to you. Just a bit of a word of warning, like any industry, there's always change. We're no different to change. And the structure of training packages and units of competency are being what we call streamlined. So they're just changing a little bit. Don't fret about it. When you'll see that there is some differences, but essentially they're the same thing. Everything I've just explained to you there is essentially the same. Now what you'll see with each of those training package, qualification and unit of competency, they all have codes. I cannot stress enough how important those codes are whenever you're quoting any of these parts. The codes mean things. So you always have to have code and name. Actually, says she, who's not written the training package name next to that, so you can downgrade me for that one. But for example, we've got from the SIR 07, we have a certificate 1 in retail services, and there's the code for it. Within that qualification, we've got this particular unit. A common error in the assessment is where we ask for a training package, people write a qualification. Where we ask for a qualification, people write a unit of competency, and we kind of forget this bit here. But that's the big umbrella, that's the big package there. Okay, so it's a little bit of a heads up on that. So before I move on, are there any questions on anything that I've said about the course content at all? Let's clean that out. Because if there's no questions, what I might do is move on to the assessment questions. if there are any, or I can just run through the assessment itself. Okay, I'm not seeing any questions come up, but you could be frantically typing. I know I'm absolutely terrible at typing, which is absolutely crazy because, you know, I do it all day, every day. Okay. I see no hands. You know, let me just see if I miss any questions. No. Okay. Not to worry. Oh. Okay, I've got a question from Stephanie. Thank you, Stephanie. Can you do a range statement example when you go through the assessment, please? Absolutely, I will make sure I do that. And Kate's asking, is it a case of choosing units of competency to match the client needs? Bingo, you've got it, Kate. Yeah. So Stephanie, yes, I will ensure I do that. And if for any reason I don't get to do it, please raise your hand and remind me. And Kate, like I say, you're saying, is it a matter of choosing a unit of competency to match the client needs? Yes. It could be you're choosing a qualification for the client, or it could be you're choosing a unit of competency or a skill set. So it's completely up to you, whatever the client needs. And then Kate, you're adding to that, then seeing if they can align with a particular qualification, which is skill set. Okay, yes. So like I said, you look at the client's needs. What do they need to learn and achieve? And then we go to training.gov.au and we search through the massive information we've got there and try and drill down to, do they need a skill set? Do they just need one unit of competency? Or do they need a whole qualification? So hopefully, Kate, that's answered your question there. Thank you. Good. What I might do, before I go into the assessment itself, how about I'll give a bit of a, just put a yes, no, whichever you think on this, on the questions. How about I do a bit of a run through of training.gov.au in terms of how it's structured? Would that be of any help before I go into the assessment? Yes, please. Yep, okay. I've got 2 yeses, so that's a, and 3 yeses. Okay. Yeah. Yes, please. There are some units that appear out of date, etc., and I don't know if we can use them. Great. All right. Let me do that for you. I'll just I'll get to the right. Okay. Let me share the screen. That was screen 2, I think. Can you just confirm that you can see training.gov.au on your screens, please? Just a quick yes is fine. Yep, okay. If a couple of you can, then you all can. That's wonderful. Okay, so, oh, very small, is it? Let me see if I can. How's that, Erin? Is that any better? I don't know. Great, excellent. Actually, that suits my eyesight too, so maybe I should do that more often. All right. Sometimes, actually, you may not come straight to this page. I've actually got it as a favorite. So what I'm going to do is show you the page that some people come across first. Okay, sometimes when you do training.gov.au, you may see this particular screen, and it throws people. What you need to do, you see where it says continue to training.gov.au. You just click on that and it goes to here. I've actually got up on this toolbar, I'm not sure if you can see my little arrow going across. These are all my regular visited sites, and as you can see, training.gov.au home is up there. So I suggest you have that up there. So you come to this screen. Now I'm just going to show you the way that I use training.gov.au. It's not the all and the only way to do this, but I find it works really quite well. So you go into this quick search here. Now you could just put a word in. If you know the code, then that's the best thing. But if you don't, and I just want to do retail, see, I told you I can't type. Retail, let's just go with that option there, shall we? And you will see a screen similar to this. Now I've picked retail because it shows you those different layers within the industry. So here at the top here, you've got training packages, and there are 7 results. You've got qualifications, 82. You've got accredited courses, and again, units of competencies and skill sets. So what you tend to do is click on this little arrow here. All right, and this might answer one of the points that Kate mentioned earlier. And you'll notice in this particular one, retail, it's just picked up the word retail in a number of places. So simply like a Google search. It's actually not as smart as Google, but it does us all right. And you'll see that it's got superseded. Please do not use a superseded training package. They tend to stay up there because there's a whole transition period that RTOs have to follow. So sometimes we have to revert back to the previous version, and that's why they're up there. But they're actually quite good now, and this is quite a relatively addition to training.gov.au. And it goes superseded by. So it tells you which one to go to. So instead of going to the AUR 99, and just a bit of information, the last 2 digits of a training package is the year that it was endorsed. So that was endorsed in 1999, and they're reviewed every 5 to 6 years. So that's really out of date. So it says they're superseded by AUR 05. That's still a long time ago, but you can see underneath the current one is the AUR 12 in this particular case, 2012. All right, so please do not go to a superseded one, go to the current ones. I'm just going to go to the SR07, which was in my example, Retail Services Training Package. So you just click on the hyperlink. There's a few ways that you can do this. There's all this big summary thing. Don't get too concerned about that. Scroll down. It does tell you who the Industry Skills Council is, so ISC, and there are 11. And each Industry Skill Council is responsible for a number of training packages, and they are responsible for updating them, developing them, updating them, and all the qualifications under there. And that's through consultation within that particular industry. So this is the Service Skills Australia ISC, Industry Skills Council. And you can go to their website and look at everything they do if you want. Now you'll notice here the next section down, and I'll come to that in a moment. Kate's just asking a question. So just below here, you've got qualifications, and it tells you what all the current qualifications are. So going to your question, Kate, it's going non-current. I haven't actually seen that too often, and you'll probably tell me it's right there in front of my eyes. Anything non-current or superseded, just don't go there. Always go with the current one. So hopefully that makes you feel comfortable with that, Kate. So you've got all these different qualifications, and normally you've got these little hyperlinks. So if, for example, you wanted to have a look at Cert 1 in retail sales, your client is in retail, they're quite new, Cert 1 is normally, you might click on that and go, okay, so what makes up the Cert 1 in retail? So what we do is we scroll down. Excuse me, I'll try not to do it too fast. I don't know about you, but I get dizzy when people scroll too fast. I'm just going to close this quick help down. I tend not to use it. Modification history just tells you the journey that it's been on. This is quite handy when you're trying to choose a qualification. You've got the description here, so it tells you the type of job roles that this lends itself to. So these are the job roles somebody should be able to do once they've completed the qualification. So not the job role they're in right now. And then here you've got pathways into the qualification. So what you tend to find, some qualifications say, for example, if it's a certificate 4 in something, sometimes it says you have to have your certificate 3 in order to do your certificate 4. You don't always have that, but sometimes you do. And it will pop that up there. It may also say, once you've done your Cert 1, as it says here, you can then go on and do these. Okay, just options. So what's the journey they can go on? Then you've got all the employability skills. So employability skills, they basically gain those skills when they've completed the whole qualification. So by doing the whole qualification, these are the type of communication skills they would have gained, the type of teamwork skills they would have gained, basically makes them employable for that particular area. Now, earlier on I mentioned to you the packaging rules. These are the packaging rules for this particular qualification. So to get their Cert 1 in retail here, they need to have a total of 5 units. 3 are core, 2 electives. And then it tells you what the rules are about that elective. So a minimum of 1 unit needs to be selected from the list below, which is this list here. And 1 unit may be selected from any of the relevant training package or accredited course, first package at AQF level 1 and 2. So you could probably think, you know what, I need them to have some business skills, maybe some basic admin that's not quite covered in this particular qualification as it sits. So you might go to the BSB training package and hand cherry pick a qualification that sits in with this, but it can't be more than an AQF level 2 because that's what the rules say in this particular one. So we know here that these are the 3 core units and these are some of the electives. So you could have the 2 electives from here, or you might be able to have 1 from here and then 1 from elsewhere. Now, you may then say, well, how do I know what each of those units are? So what you do, if there's no hyperlink, just the good old copy that unit. We want to know what's in communicate in the workplace. And I go at the top here. This is how I do it. Sorry, Marsha's just got an aha moment. I like aha moments, thank you. I paste that unit in there, search, and there it is, communicating the workplace and support team and customer outcomes. Go past all it tells you what qualification this unit appears in elsewhere, modification, and then here is the unit descriptor. These are the components of the unit descriptor, the application. If there's any licensing information, and you'll see that come up in your assessment, it will actually ask, are there any licensing requirements? Now this one, there aren't any because it says there aren't any, but it might be if you're in the hospitality training package, so they're serving alcohol, there might be licensing requirements within that, okay? And then here are your elements and your performance criteria. So to get this particular unit, you've got, let me just scroll down, 5 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then within each element is then broken down into performance criteria. So what we want you to get used to in this study period is to understand that eventually, in order for somebody to be signed off in this unit of competency, for example, they have to demonstrate they can do all of these performance criteria. Once they can do all of those performance criteria, they can be signed off in that unit of competency. And then once they've been signed off in all of the 5 units as it was in that qualification, they can then be signed off in that qualification itself. And Erin, if license regularity is not listed, do we assume there is no license requirements? Absolutely, Erin. If it says there's none there, then there's none there. So you just check with that. And you can also go back into the whole training package itself as well, and that will double check. But it tends to be for each unit because a unit of competency is basically a task or a job area. And they've broken that task down into the finer detail on what needs to be achieved. You will come across this. This is the old version of units of competency, and the majority of units are in this format, and it will be changing shortly, but let's just go through this. If you come up to a unit of competency that has a slightly different layout, just message me and I'll walk you through what the difference is, but it translates really well. So your required skills and knowledge, they're saying for this particular unit, these are all the required skills that they need to have, and this is all the required knowledge. Now, essentially, if you address if they're signed off in all of the performance criteria, they would have demonstrated all of the required skills and knowledge, but it's a check-in. And you will come across this when you come to do your assessing study period. So I don't want to go too much into this. And then you've got evidence guide. Now, earlier on, I think it was Stephanie, somebody mentioned range statement. Was that you, Stephanie? Yeah, I remembered correctly. Okay, yes, you confirmed. So the range statement. The best way to describe the range statement is that it helps you understand what the elements and performance criteria for. So what I'm going to do, sorry to scroll so fast. If you look here, element 1 is communicate face-to-face with customers. And as you read the performance criteria, you see that some of the words are written in bold and italic. That's to alert you to the range statement, because they will say, if you go to the range statement and look under customer, it will tell you what we mean by customer. So you scroll down here, customers may include. So now that might be obvious in this particular instance, but there'll be some units, particularly when it comes to some higher AQF levels, so Cert 4 or diploma, etc. Sometimes you don't know what some of those words mean. So you can go to the range statement and it will help you understand to put that into context. I'm hoping, please let me know, Stephanie, if that does actually address your question. I'm just going back to it. Can you do a range statement example when you go through the assessment, please? Okay, so that explains what range statement is, and I will link that to the appendix in the assessment itself as well. Yeah, how do you customize it for client? Yes, Stephanie, that will come up again as we go through. Now, Erin's asking a question also. I've also been unable to find one. So I'm guessing what you're saying is you've been unable to find a unit or qualification for your client. I think rather than me trying to work that out with you now, what I might suggest, Erin, is unable to find a range statement. Fine. It's probably because you are using the new version, the new streamlined version of Unit of Competency, so don't worry, okay? You don't have to worry about range statements, okay, because they're formatting them a little bit differently. What I would do, Erin, is maybe if we don't have time tonight, I can arrange to talk you through the streamline version or send you some information to help you with that, okay? Because I don't want to confuse everybody. So that essentially is training.gov.au. You're welcome, Erin. I'm just going to go back a page. I do want to show you, yes I are. Okay. So this is going back to the retail services training package that I was originally working from. And what I'd like to do, I've been showing you whilst it's online, what you can do, if you go down to the bottom of the page, you can actually download, the complete training package in either Word or PDF format. So you see the complete training package. And if it's a training package that you are going to be using on a regular basis, I strongly recommend that you just put it on your hard drive or your USB or whatever it is you're working from. So you've always got it there and you haven't got to keep downloading it. And then you can highlight things and work with it as much as possible. Please be careful not to print training packages. This particular one, I don't know how many pages this particular one is. It's just opening now. Opening in 2 seconds, 1 second. Let's have a quick look. And where's it gone? Oh, it's opening now. See, it takes a while because it's such a big document. But some of them can be literally thousands of pages. And so this is what it looks like. I'm just going to see. Sorry. And we'll go on to the assessment in a moment, ladies and gentlemen. So this is the actual training package itself. Does it say, it's over 2,000 pages. Yeah. Yeah, so if you look here, just the last unit there on page 2449. So please, I'll just close that. Please don't, yeah, print it off, because I don't think the environment will really appreciate it. Okay. Are you comfortable in moving on to the assessment itself, or do you have any other questions with regards to the content, I suppose? Okay. Thank you. Happy to move on. Great. All right, let me just open a copy of the assessment. All right. So what I'm going to do, first of all, I just want to make sure that you can see in front of you Open College's Assessment 1. It's got a little bit of a shaded grey column on the right-hand side. Can you just confirm that you can all see this? Yep, excellent. Okay. And if you need to, I'll make it a little bit bigger. 200 might be, I know. Okay, I'll do that a little bit bigger there. All right, hopefully that's not too glary for you. So what I've got here is a copy of the assessment in study period 1. Now, the assessment there's 2 assessments in study period 1, and they're basically identical. The reason, we're not trying to do it for the sake of it, the reason that we've done that, everybody, is because the unit of competency we are assessing you for says that we have to have examples that you can use two different training packages with 2 different clients, etc., etc., etc. So what I suggest to a lot of my students is that you do the first one, the 30060, submit it, get my feedback, and then if there are any things that you need to work on, you can work on it, and then you can submit your second one in the knowledge of what it is that we're looking for. Okay, quite often I have people submit both at the same time, which is fine too. And what I tend to do there is, if they need to work on the first one, I will give them feedback on that, and then I will switch their second one to incomplete, saying you might want to take on board the feedback from the first one and make changes. So up to you. So you've got all your student name, instructions. You do have case studies. It's up to you if you want to use them or not, or you could use your own client. Now, with this particular copy of the assessment, you see that I've got these little comments here. Okay, these are just extra comments. These won't be on your version. Okay, but they're things that I tend to, some of them are links to websites I think that are really handy for each part of the assessment, and you may find these pop up in your feedback too, if you're not interested. So the first one, it says arrange to have access to information about the training assessment services offered by a specific RTO, etc., etc. All we're asking you to do there is pretend you work for an RTO, and you can pretend you work for an RTO, you can pretend you work for Open Colleges, I don't mind. Okay, and I've put here that you research your client, the policies and procedures, and just pop all that information into the file. Okay, so you're just trying to get a little bit of information, background, before you go and meet your client. Go and find out about the policies and procedures the RTO offers and what the client's all about. That's all we want. Now, if you don't work for an RTO, which a lot of people don't, you can use our policies and procedures, and I'm quite happy later on to show you where to get that if needs be. But if you just go to the student handbook at the top of open space, you will find up there's a student handbook. Hover your mouse over it, and there's all sorts of policies and procedures in there, and just have a look and go, which policies and procedures would help me train and assess a client. That's all you're looking for, nothing more, nothing less. Then 2, it says you're required to gather information about a client who's inquiring about the training assessment services offered by your organisation. It gives you lots of information there. Okay, and I've put here TNA, it's training needs analysis. Okay, and it says basically I've put there just all you want to do is chat to your client, talk to them. Go, hey Bob, tell me what your needs are, okay? Find out what their needs are. Where do you get the policies and procedures? Hi, Anne. Yep. So let me see if I can own it. So when you go, go back and wait a minute. So here you've got open space, you've got student lounge. I click on student lounge. If you look over student handbook, this little pop-up here, policies and procedures come up. And there are all your policies and procedures. And if you link on each of them, so you've got here learning policy and procedures, you've got assessment policies and procedures. So that's where you can get them from. And in terms of your assessment, just copy and paste the link. Don't worry about actually copy and paste them all, because I can just go to the link itself. So hopefully Anne and everybody else, that helps you with that. So all you're doing is I want you to talk to your client. You're welcome, Anne. So I just want you to talk to your client, and like I said, it's like selling a washing machine or whatever product, and go, what is it you need? Think of the type of questions. What do you want training in? What do you want the learners to be able to do by the end of it? Really dig in deep and ask lots of questions, and that's all you're doing here, okay? And it does say that you then use Appendix A to put those results down, and I'll go to the appendices in a bit rather than jumping up and down. So all you're doing is talking to them. That's it, okay? Then you develop an action plan, which I'll show you the appendix in a minute. You then take 1 unit of competency and we do what we call unpacking it. Okay? Yet again, I'll probably just go through the appendices in a moment. Step 5 is when you develop the learning program itself, and that's an appendix. Then you contextualize a unit, which I will explain, and that's an appendix. Now these 2 steps, 7 and 8, do not have an appendix, and that's why I'm just dipping in and out of some of these. Step 7, it says you are to develop subject matter content for 1 element. Now I know, Stephanie, you messaged me earlier and I replied just before we started this session. What you want to... No, that's okay, Steph, you don't need to apologise. Actually, I think your question's relating to something a little bit further on, not this one. But subject matter content is actually, we need evidence that you can look at 1 element within a unit. So pick a unit within your learning program and go, I'm going to go for that element, and I'm going to develop some material that I could use if I were to train these people. So that material could be a PowerPoint, it could be a handout, it could be part of a student workbook. So it's completely up to you. It could be an information sheet. What I would ideally like from you in a perfect world is I want to look at that subject matter content and think, I could use that in a training session. That looks really professional, and it covers all of the content within that element itself. So look at what is required for them to be trained on and put some material together. Now, if you're doing a learning program for an industry you already work in, that's great, because you probably know the area, and it's absolutely fine to use something that's already in your organization and then you modify it. You have to make changes yourself. But if you're not and you're using the case study, oh, it's amazing, good old Google, you can find all sorts of information about dentistry or whatever it might be. So develop something like a PowerPoint or just a handout. So that's all that is. And it's got here, write a short report. So have this in mind as you're going through the journey of this assessment, but do the report at the end. And it says write a report about 750 words. Okay, so if it comes in at 300 or 400, I'm going to bounce it back. But it comes in at 700 or, I don't know, 800, or, a little bit either side, that's fine. But the key things, I know you see I've highlighted some of the areas, all right? You've got to reflect on which principles of adult learning you use to develop the learning program. So when you're developing a learning program, think about adult learning principles. And what I've done here, I've actually written page 57 onwards in the Design and Develop Learning Program student workbook. Now this webinar will appear on open space, so you can always go back and play it, or I suggest you just type that down now there or write it. So go to that student workbook, refer to page 57 and find out, if you haven't already, look at what we mean by adult learning principles. So I want to see you write in there, I followed these adult learning principles and this is how I did it. Okay? The dimensions of competency as well. I want to see how you addressed task skills, task management skills, job skill environments, and contingency management. Now, for those of you who have only just started your study period one, don't panic when you go, oh my goodness, what's she going on about? Okay, because you probably haven't got to that page, and that's okay. So you will go to, when you get to page 51 and 52 of the first student workbook, which is using training packages and credit courses to meet clients' needs, look at what those four dimensions are and go to them, okay, and just look and you'll find examples in there. It also talks about instructional design framework as well, so you need to make sure this is the instructional design framework I followed, okay, and I haven't actually written the page number in there, but I'm not sure if you know, but when you, that will be in the second workbook, the design and develop learning programs one, and I'm not sure if you know, but within those files, within those those workbooks, if you do Control F, I'm not sure if you're aware, but a little box will pop up in the right hand corner, and type in instructional, and it will jump every time we press enter. It will jump to every page that word appears on, so you can actually find that. Or go to the content section and click on the content page that you want, and it will jump to it for you, so you don't have to keep siphoning through it. So that's what I'm looking for in those. So please make those particular things, instructional design, principles of adult learning, and the dimension of competency stand out in your report. That's what I'm looking for. Okay, this is not about report writing. This is about you providing me evidence that you understand each of those concepts and that you've incorporated them in your work. You submit in your assessment portfolio an evaluation of resources that could be used to implement the learning program, and you use Appendix F. So what that is about is, now you've done a bit of design yourself, we want you to go and find some material that has already been designed, and we want you to critique it. That's purely all that is. Okay, and I think Stephanie, this is what your question was relating to, and I may have found one for you. So what I'm referring to, everybody, Stephanie very kindly messaged me and said, I know I've been searching for something and I can't find it. I can't find anything on there. What I tend to do, I might even have it up there. Oh, sorry, don't mean to blind you all. So what I did, and I'm just going to show this, I hope you're okay, Stephanie, but I just went into Google and I looked at the skill set that Stephanie was working on, and I looked at some of the units, and I looked at some of the subjects within the units, and I saw that one of the units within there was Generate Design Solutions. I have no idea about that industry, so I do apologise. And I typed in the word workbook, Google. Anything with training.gov.au ignore. They don't develop learning materials. They just give us the standards. But this one here said design a workbook, design work. And when I clicked on it, I came to this wonderful document. Now, I have no idea if this actually addresses Stephanie's industry, but you might look at, so we would look at this particular, it's a workbook of some sort, and it looks absolutely fantastic on layout. And we go, okay, if I were to use that in the learning program that I've developed, then, you know, would I be able to use it? Would I need to contextualize it a little bit? So Erin's just asked a question, can the subject matter for question 7 come from the same resource you found and used for question 9? Absolutely, Erin. So if you have found a resource that you want to develop yourself and add on to, yeah, you can use that for both the design of subject matter content and the review, because you can critique this and go, is this any good? All right, and if it isn't any good, why not? If it is good, then why? Okay. So thank you, Erin. So Stephanie, I can easily send that link to you if you want, and you can have a look at it and see if it's any good. If not, we can try and find out. So and this I offer that to everybody else, is if you get really stuck and you had a bit of a look around, I don't want you to waste your study time trying to search for resources, but have a good crack at it, and then if you still can't find anything, then let me know, and we get a little bit used to it, I guess. Okay. So those are the basic instructions. So let me just go through the appendices, and all I'm going to do here is I'm going to, yes, thank you very much, Stephanie. Oh, great. All right. Did you want me to send the link to you, or will you look it up yourself? Just let me know what action you would like to happen. So the appendices, I'll do it. Okay, no worries. So what I'm going to do here is run through the appendices and share these with you. I'm not going to type in every single one, but what I will do is share some of the common errors in assessment, so that you can maybe jump over those hurdles and move on a lot easier. And if you have just started in study period 1 and you're now getting to the point of, oh my gosh, this is information overload, please remember this is a lot of information. You may not have worked through the workbooks yet or not gone all the way through. And all these webinars will be on our website, and I will try and remember to show you how to access them. And you can always message us. Okay, so there's lots of support from this point onwards, so don't think you've got to try and keep it all in your head now. So Appendix A, consultation outcomes. Remember, this is where you meet with a client and you talk to them, ask them lots of questions, find out what their training needs are. Okay, so all you're doing here, and you're documenting the responses here. The biggest thing I feedback on are stakeholders. So there should be more than 1 or 2 stakeholders in there, everybody. So a stakeholder could be coming from the client themselves, or it could be coming from the RTO. So, and I say that, RTO with inverted commas, because maybe you're not in RTO, you're just pretending to be, which is fine. A stakeholder is anybody who has an impact or will be impacted upon with this learning program that you're developing, whether it be in the design of it, the delivery of it, or the evaluation of it. So the learners are stakeholders. The owner of the business is stakeholder. Maybe other people in other departments are stakeholders. Maybe their customers are stakeholders. So imagine this program you're putting together, who is affected by all of this in some shape or form, or who can help you. And you just dot point them. What are their training and assessment needs? Dot point them. Give me a picture. I want to look at this and go, wow, they've got a lot of information from this client. Characteristics of the target learner. I've had a few assessments lately where this has been quite thin on the ground, and what I want to see here, I want to build a picture in my mind of what these learners look and feel like from what you've written. So I want to see sort of the age range. I don't need names, but are there any special requirements for them? What's their age range? What's their background? Just find out. Get hungry for getting a real feel for what these learners are about. What sort of delivery do they want? Is it face-to-face? Is it online? Is it a bit of both, which we call blended, whatever? And what are the assessment requirements? Do they want the assessment to be in the workplace, or can it be in a training room? What do they want? Ask these questions to them. And then here, how will you use information to develop the learning program? Really simple, ladies and gentlemen. Do not overthink this. It'll be like something like, now I know who the stakeholders are. I can go to Fred and get the policies and procedures from them to help me design the learning program. I can go to Bob to get some more subject matter content. There's all sorts. Oh, welcome, Mohammed. And Mohammed has actually emailed everybody, I think that's what you're saying, Mohammed, the links to the previous tutorials. Thank you very much. He's popped that up there. Excellent. So don't overthink this right-hand column. Just think, how am I going to use that? Oh, I can go to Fred, I can go to Bob, I can go to whoever and find this information out. You're starting to build up a picture. How can I develop this learning program? And then from that information that you've built up, you now need to put an action plan together. What am I going to do with all of that information? Well, I'm going to put in the client's name and details here. Okay. And I've put here page 17 of the training packages student workbook, because if you want to know who a client is, that page will tell you. Who are the stakeholders? Well, you've already done that. You just copy and paste it from your previous template. Prepared by you and the date. What are their training assessment needs? And again, you should get it from the previous template. However, if you need to check it out, look at page 19 and 20 of the training package and accredited courses student workbook. So what is the purpose of this learning program? Why are they doing it? Is it to increase customer service? Is it to reduce complaints? Is it to reduce accidents? What is the purpose of them doing this? Now, earlier on, ladies and gentlemen, I ran through with you, this. Okay, now what I'm about to show in this appendix, this is where people make a common mistake, and I have to bounce the assessment back. Remember, I said there's a difference between a training package code, a qualification, and a unit of competency. So, it's got here, what is the training package you'll be working with? So think about, if I've chosen a unit, a skill set, or a qualification, what training package is that coming from? Don't give me a qualification there. It will come back to you, ladies and gentlemen. I want the training package. In this case, it's the SIR 07 because it's an out-of-date one. Name and code required. We mentioned earlier about the licensing requirements. If there's in there, put not applicable if there's none there. Don't leave it blank. So either put them in or put not applicable. And which qualification best suits your client's needs. And again, I've put some little page numbers here that might help you. Page 12, 30 and 31 of using training packages and accredited courses, and page 12 of the same one as well. Okay, but that little diagram will hopefully help. What are the learner characteristics? Got from the previous one. The adult learning principles. Okay, I want to see a list there of what learning principles do you plan to use. Okay, and I mentioned the page numbers earlier on when I spoke about the report. So go back to your learner student workbook and go, what are adult learning principles? Go back to it and pop them in there. Now this one here is a bit of a stumbling block for some people. We ask for training specifications. All that is, you might want to jot this down, all this is about is the packaging rules. I want you to put in there, whichever qualification you're working from, what are the packaging rules? Is it 5 core and 5 electives? What are they? Remember we showed those earlier on training.gov.au. Then we've got the work health and safety consideration. So I need you to think about that. So depending on the environment, if you're in nursing, if you're in retail, in finance, mining, they would have their own unique work health and safety. So you think about if I were to implement this learning program, what needs to be considered? So that's Appendix B. Unpacking a unit of competency. So what we then want you to do is to take one unit from your learning program. Your learning program may only be one unit, but if it's a qualification, choose one unit. And what we need you to do is, as it says there, unpack it. And what unpacking means is you look at that unit and we get our head around what that unit actually means. Because sometimes you read a unit of competency and it makes no sense whatsoever. It's like, what are they trying to ask for? So you look at each performance criteria, each element, and you go, what does that mean in terms of me training and assessing it, or our RTO training and assessing it, and how does that relate to the client? And the way you do that is you copy and paste in this column what the unit says. So whatever the unit says for descriptor, you add it in here. Whatever it says for application of unit, you put it in here, and so on and so forth. For Erin and anybody else who is working from the new Streamline unit of competency or training packages, let me know, message me separately, and I'll send you a separate template for this because the components are slightly different. And then this is the bit that I'm looking at. I want a description in here. You read, for example, the elements of performance criteria, and I want to see in there at an absolute minimum, this relates to my client because, and I want to see that you've read the content of that and you can link it to them. because they need to improve their customer contact, customer service, and element 1 talks about them introducing themselves, etc., etc. So I just need a blurb. What you will find, I've put up here a link to a YouTube video, and this is also in the Study Period 1 forum. And you can click on this, and I'm not going to play it now. Go back after tonight and have a look at it. It's a fabulous YouTube video. I'd like to say I did it myself, but I didn't. And it shows somebody who's fully unpacking a unit of competency. And what you will see within there, they're doing it the next level up. So if you're looking for a higher grade, have a look at that and consider following that format. And what she is doing in there, for each performance criteria, she just makes some little notes on what would be covered in the training for her client on that one, and what would be assessed and how it would be trained. So have a look at that. Strongly recommend it. I know I'm talking a lot, and I'm very conscious of that, and I'm just going to keep working through the appendices. But as, when, or if you have any questions, you know by now, I think, that you can just put your hand up or ask a question. Now, the learning program. We now need to put this program together for our client. All a learning program is, ladies and gentlemen, it's now saying, okay, let's take, for example, I have chosen a qualification for my client based on their needs. I now need to outline how that qualification is going to look, how it is going to be delivered. You're not going to have to deliver it at this stage. Just how is it going to deliver? So you've got some of the basics up here. Okay, code and title of qualification. Please, as I mentioned earlier, always put code and title in. List all of the units that this learning program covers. Now, can I just point out that if you do only have one unit, that's fine. But can you just put up here, if you've got Cert 1 in retail operations, can you please make it clear up there that this learning program is for one unit for this qualification? So the client knows that whatever's in here, they will get a statement of attainment or whatever it is that you're working towards. So duration, how long is it for? 12 months, 6 months, 1 day, 2 years? How long is it for? Organisation. A lot of people make a common error here and put in a description of the organisation that they're training, and that's an understandable mistake. And what we're actually looking here is, how is this training going to be organised? So is it 6 sessions over 5 days? Just that sort of thing. I'm going to show you an example in a minute. And then what we do here, we look at all the units up here. So you might have 5 units, 6 units, 10 units. And we start to cluster them together. We start to group them together. And we call them program areas. And this is where I am going to actually show you an example. So excuse me just flicking through, because this is really important for you to see. So I'm just going into Study Period 1. And this is hopefully a page that you're becoming familiar with, if not already familiar with. And if you scroll right down here, we've got additional resources. By the way, while I'm here, can you see where it says webinar videos just there? That's where you'll get all of previous recordings, or the link that Mohammed very kindly has sent. Down here, it says Study Period 1 News Forum. I'm just going to click on that. And in here, it's brilliant, even if we say so ourselves, because we've put in here some examples of some of the templates. So if you're unsure, go in here. And Michelle has done a great job here. It's got example of an RTO learning program. And you'll see this. And you've got an example here, an example here. This one is if you're doing a learning program for a whole qualification. This is for one if it's just one unit of competency. So I'm just going to click on this one. And that's opening up. Ta-da! Now I know it's blue and it's landscape, but the content is essentially the same, and you can sort of flick between these two. So I'm just going to go to the bit. So here you see, in this, the client's going for the Cert 3 in business. These are all the units. We've got course and elective. Etc. And here, this is the bit we want to go to. alignment with units. So what we've done here, we've used our language study period one. You can use any language you want. We've gone safety in the workplace, these 2 units. Okay, so we've taken each of the units and we've grouped them together and we've created program areas. And in this case, we've created 6. Might be 5, might be 4, might be 1. And then we start thinking about, all right, what are the delivery modes? We're going to go face-to-face. And then we start thinking and planning about what are the assessment gathering techniques we're going to use, the assessments. So here you'll see these program areas listed are exactly the same as the ones up here. I need consistency. This is a business document, so it needs consistency. And I go, okay, for the safety in the workplace, which in this case are these 2 units, we are selecting questioning techniques, workplace observation, and case study. We think that's what we plan to do. And then further down, we go, all right, so safety in the workplace, the schedule, we're going to do, and then we get the bigger picture, the whole picture. We're going to do for that particular one, face-to-face, classroom activities, workbook activities, and these are the assessment gathering techniques. I'd like to point out, everybody, that these assessment gathering techniques here need to be consistent, the ones listed across here. So if you said questioning here, questioning needs to be there, okay? They're like a checklist. So you put your schedule together, and then you've got delivery and assessment of staff competencies. So again, the program areas are exactly the same. Then you allocate which staff are going to go to each program area. Are they going to be delivering and assessing or just delivering? Whichever. Technical means the knowledge in the subject area. So in this case, Simon Catface, got to love the name. He's going to deliver and assess. What qualification gives him the authority and the knowledge to deliver the content, the technical knowledge of safety in the workplace, where he's got his diploma in OC Health and Safety? And what qualification does he have to do the assessing? He has his Cert 4 in Training Assessment. Okay, so you do that for all of them. I do not want to see ticks in these boxes. I need to see qualification names. Assessment validation. Validation is about how, and it's something you will cover in a later study period, so we just need to touch on it here. Validation is what process are you going to follow to check that the training and assessment does actually train and assess what it's meant to be doing. So you're validating it. We've got some ideas here, and if you want me to, send me a message and I can send you a link to another web page to give you a bit more information if you find the workbook's not quite giving you enough. So infrastructure, all that is about what resources do we need in place to make this work. Tables, chairs, rooms, whatever it might be. Pathways, we mentioned these earlier, and it had it in the qualification on training.gov.au. Once they do this qualification, what are the pathways that are optional for them? Do a bit of OC Health and Safety risk assessment and what you can put in place. And that is a learning program, which is this Appendix D, and it's probably the biggest one out of all of them, to be honest with you. Okay, excuse me scrolling down, but this is a blank copy of what we've just said. And there's the, if you get to watch this back, that's a Fortress website. That's a really good bit of extra information there for you. That's your Appendix D. The questions are very quiet there, but I see we still have participants, so that's always good. Contextualization. What happens is that when they write units of competency, they have to write them quite generically, so quite broad, because they need to be used in so many industries and so many different organizations. So work health and safety, or OC Health and Safety, is quite broad. So they're using quite a, like I say, broad language. So what we need to do when we then go to use that unit, we need to tweak it. That's all it is. We need to tweak a unit to make sure the language that it's using is conducive to our clients. So they understand that language, and that's all you're doing. You're just changing the odd word or two. It's no more or no less. And some people get a little bit caught up on this. So what we've got here, I need to make sure you do put the name and title and number of the unit up here. It's very important. So I do actually go back. Part of marking it, I check it. How would a unit of competency be contextualized? And I'm going to go to an example again in the forum. So let me go back. So here, so the 10th one down, Erin's got a question I will come to in a minute, Erin. We've got here contextualization example, Appendix C. So I'm just going to click on that. And this is for implement customer service standards. So what Michelle has done here, she has taken one element within the unit. It says access, interpret, blah, 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 blah. And you'll notice here, customer is in bold black and guest is in blue italic. If we were to look at that particular unit, you would find that this word guest is not in there. Okay, but what she's saying here is my client doesn't use the word customer, they use the word guest, and that's how I'm going to tweak it. So if I were to use, I'm just going to copy that and go to our template. What I'd want to see in here, let's make it a bit easier for you. Okay. All right, so what I would like to see from you is something like this. You cross out customer and you write in the word guest. And that tells me you don't want to use the word customer, you want to use the word guest. And it might be, instead of organizational standards, that's quite broad, isn't it? Instead of organization, let's type in, say Open Colleges is our client. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to use the word organization, organizational. I'm going to use the word Open Colleges. So all we've done there is looked at an element, and that was 1.1 from, make sure you always put the numbering in there, and we just tweaked it. So it's in a language that they understand and we understand. Now some people quite often ask at this stage, why on earth do we do that? The reason we do that is that later on down in your journey, when you start if you were to develop learning material and assessments for this unit, it needs to be in a language that your learners understand. So it all kind of starts here. And then what you do in this particular column, you insert which rules of contextualization you are following by doing that. And I've put on there page 55 of the used training packages student workbook. That will tell you the rules and contextualization. And you will find it in training package as well, but that's essentially where that comes from. And then in here, in your own words, a bit of blurb. By doing that, how does that satisfy your client? Well, it's made sure that we've used the same language. They only use the word guests, not customers. Okay, and I just want to see 2 or 3 examples. You can actually, in addition to that, you may decide, let me see if I can, excuse me. So we mentioned the range statement earlier. You might say, you know what, client needs, yes, they got all this, but in my client, there's another need, and you might add to the range statement. So if you do that, all you would do is type in here range statement, add whatever word it is you want to add to customers. Told you my typing's terrible. Okay, so I just need to see where you're doing that. Now I've got here from Erin and Pamela. So Erin, in my case, the unit is written specifically for my clients and I haven't found any words to tweak. Do I just state this? Really good question, Erin. Normally you would, but because I need evidence that you can contextualize, what I suggest you do is pick another unit just for that task, if you can, just to prove to me you understand contextualization, and look for some examples. Okay, and Pamela, I was also wondering what a third-party report would look like for evidence gathering techniques, please. Okay, That is something that will come up in a later study period, Pamela. When you get study period 3 open, you will see some examples in there. But if you need to see something before then, I wouldn't have one here right now, but message me with your email address outside of this webinar, and I'll send you an example so you can have a look at that. Okay. Hi Sarah, how are you? Where do we find the range statement? So with your range statement, now this is on the old, oh sorry, this is on the one type of format of, hi Sarah, yeah, on what I was saying earlier. I'm not sure if you were with us when we said that, but they actually changing the layout and the format of training packages and units of competency. They're streamlining them, streamlining them. So what we are saying, what I said earlier, is that if you haven't got range statement in your unit of competencies, the chances are you've got the new version. So Mohammed just popped up, which is great, thanks. It's got pre-March and post-March. So March is when they started, I believe what you're saying, Mohammed, is that's when they started to start making the switch. So correct me if I'm wrong in what you're suggesting there, Mohammed. So if you've not got it in there, Sarah, it's because you've got the new streamline one, and that's okay. Don't worry about it. So hopefully that makes you comfortable with that. And then Appendix F, we're nearly there. Yeah, we're nearly there, guys. So 5 more minutes, but I can go over a little bit more if you have any questions after this. We then got Appendix F, Resource Evaluation Template. Oh, thank you, Mohammed. I was right in understanding what you said there. Thank you. Appendix F, Resource Evaluation Template. This is linked back to what I said earlier this evening. So you go find a resource that's which is all it is learning material that's already been developed. It could be in your work, it could be in your workplace, it could be online, it could be a workbook, it could be a PowerPoint, and you review it and you critique it. And we've given you questions to answer, yes or no. What I need you to really do here, ladies and gentlemen, is please write comments. I don't want to see just yeses and nos or just yeses. I need a comprehensive, genuine review. Even if you've ticked yes to something, put some comments in there that help me see that you have really read this. Okay. Remember, when you're submitting evidence, you are proving, I guess, to me that you know and can do all of this. So that's what I'm looking for. And have they actually read that? I did mention earlier location and source of material. I do not want to see in their training.gov.au because they do not provide learning materials. They just give us the standards that we need to adhere to. And like I said earlier, if you get stuck, please give me a shout. Now, the feedback form, this is our last appendix, and we've already touched the report and everything. The Appendix F, the feedback form, what this is all about is, now that you've put this amazing learning program together for your client, you need to get some feedback on it before it is implemented. So that's all this is. Take it to a stakeholder or somebody, say, this is the learning program I have developed based on what you've told me. Please give me some feedback, and you pop their names in here. It doesn't matter if you haven't got 5 people. If you've only got 2 people, then delete those, yeah, or just, delete cells, entire row, cut them out. These are Word documents. You can massage them and manipulate them to what suits you and how it works for you. Put some comments in there. Oh, Anne, you have to go. Oh, no worries, but thank you for your thanks. I hope that's helpful to you. Like I said, you'll be able to get this hopefully in a few days' time online. So yeah, write some feedback in there. Now, if you're doing the case study, I appreciate that you don't really have somebody to talk to. That's fine. You can do this one of 2 ways, ladies and gentlemen. You can ask a colleague to say, can you pretend to be Healthy Smiles and tell me what you think, if you think they're capable of doing that, or fill it in through the eyes of the stakeholder. What do you think? What sort of things do you think a client would feedback on? Okay. And that's all there is to it. So you're finding a client, you're finding out their needs, you're putting a learning program together, and you're showing us you can develop some material. Okay, and you can review some material, and then you write a little report on it. And then once you've done that, you just do it a second time round. And I know it sounds like a lot right now, But once you get the first one, like, just go for it. Tackle it, attack it, send me messages, send Mohammed messages, send Michelle messages, call out for us, and we will respond. Like I said earlier, I tend to check my messages every day, if not every other day, so you should get a reasonably fast response there, and we are here to support you, and we run these regularly. So does anybody have any questions that hasn't been addressed yet? You can't get out of here, and don't worry, turn your computer off. I'll switch you off. Okay. Oh, Sarah's put, and don't worry about it, and I'll switch you out. Erin, you're feeling more confident to tackle this. Thank you. I'm so glad. Kate, how many study periods are there? Good question. There are actually a total of 9, but don't have heart failure. You only need to do 5. So 4 study periods covers your core units, and then you will go to your electives. And if you do, where we go, let me just go to study period 1. Here in study period 1, you've got elective form. Oh, a few from Erin. You've got your elective form here. Okay, so study periods 1 to 4, these are these units. Your core, and then you choose which study period you want after that. Okay, and you can pick those electives at any stage. Don't feel you have to do them now this minute. Okay, any other questions? Sarah, Appendix F, if I only use training.com, so what would I write? So Appendix F, that's the resource evaluation. You shouldn't really be going to training.com.au. Oh, thank you, Stephanie. Sorry, I will go back to your answer, Sarah. I'm just saying goodbye to people. Yeah, don't write training.com.gov.au because you can't get learning materials from there. So I need you to put in there where you've got your learning materials from. So, for example, excuse me, flicking. This is one I said I found earlier, say for Sarah's, Stephanie's. I would control copy that, and I would go control paste, and that's where I got that from. Erin, yeah, you just said Aspire ? Is that okay? Aspire rocks. Yes, please use Aspire if you can. Sarah, you're using the case study. That's fine. That's absolutely more than fine. I'll just show you Aspire if anybody's interested. You see it's in one of my search ones. So Aspire, if you're trying to find learning material, you've got all of these here, and you've got some of these subject areas. So you've got business services, the BSB, and you see you've got samples, and you've got these different areas here, and you can go in there. So certificate 1 in business. Okay, and you can actually go and get sample pages. We don't want you spending money and buying material, but you can go to that sample page and review it, which I'm just trying to open now. And you can do it for free. So if you're there, so you copy and paste that. Marsh is asking a question here. Mohammed asked me to try and knock out the online quizzes before tonight's webinar, but I couldn't find them. Okay, not a worry. They're all the different, all these subjects here. They've put free samples up there, so please review those. Going to the quizzes, let me just show you where you go to those, Marsh. Okay, you must go. No worries. You're welcome. Please send me any messages if I can help you after tonight. Learn. So if you go here, you see we've got assessment upload here, Marsh, and to everybody. Okay. So you've got here Learning Design Portfolio 1, and then that's your first online quiz. Learning Design Portfolio 2, online quiz. So that's where you find them, Marsh. Hopefully that will help you. If you can't find them after tonight, then contact Student Services or Mohammed or myself. So Sarah, can I also put that my learning materials are australiancollege.com as is my turn and I'll use for the case study? Yes, Sarah, you can. Yep, that's fine. Oh, thank you for a great session, Marsh. That's absolutely wonderful. It was a good session tonight. Thank you. Sarah, okay, thanks. Great. Any other questions? You're either typing frantically or you're signing off and going off to enjoy your evening. Oh, one more question. Do we need to put the sample resource in a file? No. Erin, if you can send me the link, that's fine. I have one more question. Go on, Sarah. Appendix F, yep. No questions. Okay. Pamela, no questions. Thank you for a great session. I got a lot out of it. Excellent, Sarah. Still unsure how to use it? No worries. So Appendix F, what you would do is fill in your RTO name and what resource that you're reviewing. So if it's a workbook or a PowerPoint, whichever resource it is. Name of the learning program, your learning program that you've developed. Evaluation prepared by you, so it would have your name in that case, Sarah. Who your target learners, so go back to your learning program, get that. Put in here where you've got your learning material from, okay? So let me just move this, sorry. So if, for example, okay, so here, manage meetings. I'm going to go to this learner guide, okay? And this is an actual piece of learning material. I'd look through it, okay, in conjunction with, I might just, sorry to jump around, I hope this is not making you go dizzy. Okay, so you asked, is the resource clearly linked to the objectives and learning outcomes? So look at what your learning outcomes are, have a look at the content of this learning material, tick yes or no, and then write in why you put yes or no. Yes, it directly links to the objectives, or no, it doesn't because it talks about X, Y, and Z, and I want it to talk about A, B, and C. And then you go, is the resource current, yes or no? And you look, see if anything. If you don't know, put there's no date there. I assume it is current, or yes, it is current. Put a date in there, and you literally answer each of those questions just like that. And there's 2 pages of them. Hopefully, Sarah, that helps. Okay, so you need a comment. Yes, I would prefer comments because it just shows that you've not done a tick and flick exercise. And Erin, just to clarify, when you say send me the link, do you mean we need to list our links that we have used in the assessment somewhere, like a reference list at the end, perhaps? Okay, Erin, all that is that for the subject matter for this resource evaluation, if you have a link to it, just pop it in here, because what I do when I mark it, when I've got a link in there, I go to it and just look at your comments in relation to the material. Okay, Erin, you seem okay with that. Excellent. Please don't apologise, Sarah. Go for it. One more question. Appendix D. Okay, let me just go. That's the learning program, yeah. Validation, unsure. Yeah, good question. Validation is it's actually a subject that's covered later on in your journey with us, but we just need to touch on it at this point. So validation is a process that we follow to check that our training assessment does actually train and assess what it says it's going to do. Okay, and you will learn how to do that later on in study period 3, if I remember properly. But anyway, so all you need to do is have 2 or 3 dot points on what the validation process is. So you can get that information either from the student workbook, or there's this website here, which I am happy. I don't know if this is going to work. I'm going to put it up on the chat. Send to all. Hopefully I've sent that link to you all. If not, I'll send it in a message to you, Sarah. If you don't get it, message me and I'll send you the link. Or if you go to, where's my screens? If you go to the example I ran through earlier, where are we here? So if we go down to this news forum, RTO learning program example. Thank you, Mohammed, you're going. I'll try and, yep, I see you at trainers meeting tomorrow. Wonderful. Go to the learning program. And I'll just scroll down here. This is quite a detailed one. I don't expect you to necessarily do it to this detail. This tells you how it's going to be validated. So they're going to do a pre-release validation. They're going to check it as it's going ahead, and then afterwards they're going to run some validation assessments. Validation meetings. That's all I want. Just do 2 or 3 dot points there that you can extract from that. I'm not overly concerned about that at this stage. I want it to be kind of in the right way, because you will go into validation in more depth later. Thanks, got it, good. Any other questions? And it's okay if you do have questions. Look, if after you get off from this and you go, oh my gosh, Helen said about XYZ, like I say, please message me, send me quite a specific message. Mohammed was with us tonight and he's just joined our team, and Michelle's with us. So you've got a whole team behind you and supporting you 200%. Thank you, Sarah. I'm glad you will message me. You're welcome. So thank you very much, everybody, for participating tonight. I didn't get to unmute you, but I feel that we addressed all of your areas, and you got some extra information there too. So like I say, just message us. Erin, I'm glad you found it helpful, and I look forward to signing all of your assignments off and giving all that wonderful feedback. So yeah, have a lovely evening, everybody. Bye-bye, have a good night. I will do, gonna have some dinner now, hey? And I'll hopefully be signing all your assignments off before you know it. Yummo. Yeah, I'm not sure what it is yet. I left hubby to cook it, so it might not be yummo, who knows? Take care, everybody. Have an absolutely wonderful evening. I won't close the session until you've all logged off. So please just close your webinar down, and we'll have this all saved, hopefully, if I've recorded it properly.